Joining me now is California Congressman Ted Lieu. He is a member of the House Judiciary and Foreign Affairs Committees, and it's always good to see you, my friend. So let's get into this because we have 9 Republicans who've joined Democrats to advance legislation requiring the DOJ to release more information on Epstein. Democrats on your Judiciary Committee, you want a hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi. Are there enough Republicans in GOP leadership or otherwise to make any of this happen? And what might that look like?
Thank you, Alex, for your question. I want to remind the American people that in February of this year, the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, went on national TV and said that Jeffrey Epstein's client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now. Where is that client list? Why won't she release it? This is a case of the highest levels of government protecting the rich and powerful. And the reason this story won't go away is because it's about a pedophilia ring. Women who were underage were raped and abused, and we now have wealthy people who are being protected. The Attorney General of the United States can release that list, and she needs to do it right now and not protect pedophiles. Also, House Republicans can issue a subpoena for that list, and they need to do that as soon as possible.
Look, we know a number of Republicans are vocal about wanting all Epstein material made public, but what are you hearing privately from your colleagues on the other side of the aisle?
A number of them, in fact, do want the Epstein files released, and the overwhelming majority of American people also want the Epstein files released that have not yet been released. There's already been some that have been released. There's a lot of information out there on the Epstein files. You've got multiple pictures and videos of Donald Trump. You have Donald Trump on plane logs with Jeffrey Epstein. You have really bizarre quotes from Trump about Epstein. And then most recently, the Wall Street Journal released this creepy letter that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein on his birthday. So who knows what else is in the files that have not yet been released. And the House Republicans who control Congress could issue a subpoena right now for those files.
Let me just say about that letter, Donald Trump denies having written it, although the Wall Street Journal does stand by its reporting. But let's get to Senator Dick Durbin, who's calling for the DOJ's top leadership to respond to FBI whistleblower information that suggests agents were instructed to flag any records mentioning President Trump. What do you know about that?
I said repeatedly that Trump is all over the Epstein files. And now we know that the FBI is flagging all references to Trump in the Epstein files. And if Trump wasn't in the Epstein files, why would the FBI be directed to flag those references? But this is more than just about Donald Trump. Again, this is the highest levels of government protecting the rich and powerful. And what we need is for all that information to get out. We should not have the Attorney General of the United States protecting pedophiles.
Joining me now, Timothy Hafey, former federal prosecutor and former lead investigator to the House January 6th committee. Miles Taylor, former Homeland Security official in the Trump administration. And Adam Wren, national political correspondent for Politico. Adam has interviewed far-right activist Laura Loomer, who says the Epstein matter could consume the Trump presidency. We're getting into that, and I thank you guys for all being here. So, Tim, Trump is trying this multi-pronged effort to quell, if he can, the MAGA outrage. But he admits the Epstein grand jury transcripts will not give the base what it wants. And at the same time, his lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, that could just bring details of his relationship with Epstein out front and center. And you heard us play what Alan Dershowitz said. Do you envision a scenario where Ghislaine Maxwell is given use immunity to testify in Congress?
Yeah, Alex, impossible to tell what this Justice Department or this White House will do with respect to this story. To me, this reveals the stark difference between the standards by which politicians make statements versus the standards by which lawyers do. There has been talk for years about some conspiracy, some sex trafficking cabal. Prosecutors in the Department of Justice can only talk about facts and evidence. So to the extent there's a desire by the president or others to compare what politicians have said to the facts and the evidence, complete transparency and revelation will be important. But whether or not they do or don't, look, I would be not speaking as a lawyer, trafficking in facts, able to give you any prediction about where this is going.
But I'm curious, just gut reaction here, given the fact that you worked on the January 6th hearings, would that hearing potentially be a bigger spectacle?
If Ghislaine Maxwell were to be given use immunity? Well,
Yep.
it depends on the facts, Alex. Again, there is a lot of chatter by politicians and others about some larger pattern of nefarious activity. And I don't know what the facts are. This could have been a sexual predator who is luring young women for his own sexual gratification and that of others. Does that meet the standard of this deep state conspiracy that we've been hearing about for years from some folks on the right? Maybe the attention paid to Ghislaine Maxwell would be tremendous, but I'm not sure what the facts are, right? And the facts govern, not political rhetoric. So we'll see what the facts are, maybe, because again, prosecutors in the Department of Justice and grand juries and judges evaluating the release are evaluating facts, not supposition.
So, Miles, Senator Dick Durbin says FBI personnel were told to flag anything in the Epstein files mentioning Trump. And he's asking Kash Patel about reports that he was pressured by Bondi to put 1,000 personnel on 24-hour shifts to mine roughly 100,000 Epstein records. What does this suggest to you?
This is huge, Alex. I mean, this data point to me reeks of a cover-up. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that the president was engaged in any criminal activity, but it seems reasonable to think that if this is indeed true, that there was something found in the course of the investigation or the files that the president didn't want to make public. Again, it doesn't have to be criminal. It could just be embarrassing. I mean, the birthday letter reported by the Wall Street Journal from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein, that alleged birthday letter is itself very embarrassing, but not necessarily criminal. And so, the keyword searches looking for Trump's name, I think strongly suggest that somewhere something could have been found that has affected his behavior in this case. Now, if you want to know where this is going, Alex, I would say we have a pretty good comparison, which is go back to the first Trump administration and look what the Russia investigation did to the president's psyche. I saw it up close while he was president, how it affected him. Now, the good news is that, I think the Epstein case will distract Donald Trump from some of the more egregious policies he was pursuing. The bad news is it's going to make Donald Trump desperate to create other distractions because he doesn't want people to focus on this. And one of those immediate distractions has been continuing his war on the free press with this suit against the Wall Street Journal. And I think that we're going to see that crackdown extend further as the president gets angrier at the news media for covering this story.
So your suggestion, based on what you witnessed there, is that the president, he's just going to start flailing, putting anything out there for distraction.
But anything. I'll give you an example of it, Alex. I mean, I can remember that we had, during the first Trump administration, we pushed for the largest reorganization of the Department of Homeland Security since its creation. And we were in the Oval Office supposed to talk about cybersecurity and protecting the country against weapons of mass destruction. The president was signing bills to that effect into law. And instead, he ushers the press in. And what does he talk about? He talks about the witch hunt, that he called it, the Russia investigation. This is the new witch hunt. When the president is supposed to be focused on national security and protecting the American people, he's going to be obsessing about the Epstein investigation and obsessing about getting revenge against the people who've shone a light on his involvement.
I'm just going to mind this one more second with you. Just your observation, when he's doing that, does he know what he's doing? Is it intentional, or is it just as if he's just speaking anything that comes to mind?
Well, I wouldn't give Donald Trump too much credit for being terribly strategic when it comes to these things. I think he's a lot blunter. He deploys these weapons of mass distraction because he knows that people will chase the next shiny object. And so WMDs are going to be on his mind. That may be good for Donald Trump trying to shift the narrative around, but that's bad for the American people because he's playing a dangerous game with the federal government to try to create those distractions.
While sitting in the Oval Office. Okay, so Adam, I'm curious your sense on how this is hitting Trump supporters and the MAGA world, and how would they feel about this idea to give Ghislaine Maxwell immunity to testify before Congress?
Well, when I spoke to Laura Loomer a number of times this past week, she was adamant that this is essentially, threatening to consume his presidency. And we're already seeing some of the infrastructure in terms of events looming in the future taking place where that will happen. We have the discharge petition in the House where it's possible that in a symbolic gesture, the House could vote to have all of the Epstein files released. And so that is looming out past August already. That takes us another 2 weeks deeper into this. And so, and essentially you also have the Wall Street Journal suit happening, which promises to make this continue being a story. And so her contention is that this is, as Miles said, very similar to Russiagate in the fact that it's going to take weeks and months of his presidency. And I think his supporters would be happy to see Ghislaine Maxwell testify on this and let the chips fall where they may.
Look, Loomer goes through the conspiracy rabbit hole, as you know, down it, I should say. She makes all sorts of anti-immigrant and racist posts. She essentially broke that story about Dan Bongino threatening to quit over all this, called for Trump to appoint a special counsel. But what specifically is she interested in seeing from these files?
She wants to see, one of the key things that Trump rode to office was the sense that elites were getting a different justice system than the rest of America. And she wants Trump to end that. And the problem is that he is potentially implicated in all of this, given the reporting that Politico hasn't matched, by the way, from the Wall Street Journal. And
the Trump DOJ is collapsing right now. Right? People have been fired in some cases. I know some people have quit on Trump's DOJ at various points because they didn't want to do his dirty work. Some people were fired from the DOJ and or FBI or basically forced to quit because of the work they were assigned. Like they were assigned to January 6 related cases, and did their job as professionals, whatever their personal opinions were. They followed the facts of the case, brought charges against people. Many were convicted. Trump pardoned the thugs, but the fact is, they did their job, and a lot of them were punished for it. And I know that you're going to see similar things with Epstein. Some people are going to want to speak out, and they'll be punished for it. Some people are going to be given, again, these do something illegal or immoral or unethical or just, icky. And if you don't, you're fired. And so, in effect, that means you've forced them to quit. You've basically forced them out. You've seen this from some people, right? And it's only going to get worse. You saw Trump fire the person that locked up Epstein, which was Jim Comey's daughter, as it was, but she did the job as a professional. When Pam Bondi is gonna get thrown under the bus, and that's happening, the ripples for this are gonna be insane. It's going to get mad because Donald Trump has weaponized the DOJ, and he's done it in a way where even conservatives in the DOJ are not going to be happy. Because remember, conservatives also don't trust the Trump narrative on Epstein. And I know there's lawyers in the DOJ for very different reasons who can smell the stink.